Hello, I'm Wings the Wolf, and it's been a while. Sorry. I don't imagine anybody missed me because I didn't really have any viewers, but I am back nonetheless. In this video, I'm going to start a series on a world that I haven't touched in a while, but I'd like to return to and to continue building up. This video will be focusing on one of the dragon species, which I have not named, and I will just be referring to as the red dragon. To get us started off, I'll just be doing a description of what they look like and some of their abilities. Quick disclaimer before we begin. I made this a very long time ago and probably didn't put much research into this, and keep in mind that this is complete fiction, and none of what's about to go out of my mouth would probably work in real life. Anyways, so they have really thick skin instead of scales that has a bunch of cracks along it, and hair that grows, but you can't usually see it because this dragon species has the ability to light themselves on fire, which they do so using a chemical they sweat that catches on fire when in contact with other liquids. They will twist enough to pull apart the chunks of skin and let a little bit of blood on the chemical, causing it to burst into flames and burn off any hair that's grown. The red dragon can also breathe fire out its mouth using two glands with separate chemicals. The first gland is in the back of its throat and secretes the same chemical that is used to catch its full body on fire. This comes into contact with saliva, making the initial burst of fire, and the actual breath part comes from its two hollow fangs at the front, which also lead to a gland of methane gas, which it can spray out, and it will then catch on fire from the initial chemical reaction. Red dragons have the biggest wingspan out of any dragon species on the islands, and they also have the best eyesight. They are very closely related to another species of dragons on one of the islands they're native to, which live in a completely different environment and look a lot different from them, mainly because they were born out of a mutation that happened a long time ago where a dragon was born without those chemicals that can catch them on fire, and then they just started growing a lot of hair, so they look like light gray, very shaggy versions of the red dragons. These would be the light gray dragon species. Particularly young members of the red dragons usually have a little bit more fluff to them and are incapable of breathing fire because they lack the chemical used to do so. In this world, there are 4 islands where dragons exist. Only 2 of them are relevant for this video, that being Central, which is an island with a lot of different biomes on it, and Ignisformis, which is a volcanic island. Red dragons mainly habitat Ignisformis, but they are also found on Centrum. On Ignisformis, they usually nest in the side of volcanoes, but on Centrum, they usually nest in any high altitude that they can. They don't usually nest in tall trees like some other dragon species do because it's hard for them with their big wings to get in between the branches. And also because they would have a very high likelihood of setting their nest on fire doing that. Like most other dragons that inhabit Centrum, they will migrate to Ignisformis for the winter to avoid the cold. And near the end of winter is when they will typically have their pairing and mating season. And at the beginning of spring, they will travel back to their home island if they weren't already inhabiting Ignisformis, and then they will lay their eggs there. Red dragons don't mate for life, and it's entirely up to the females to take care of the eggs. However, they will sometimes stay in the territories of males during the spring and summer and fall while they're raising their dragonets, because red dragons are not typically hostile towards each other, and it's safer for them that way. That way they can avoid threats like cannibalistic species of dragons or anything big enough to eat their hatchlings. Behavior-wise, they're pretty lazy. They don't like to move around a lot unless they're hunting or fighting. Speaking of hunting, these guys usually prey off of large game or lindworms or drakes. They do sometimes eat fish when on migration, since it's a long flight and they won't usually have anything to eat aside from fish. And I think that about wraps them up. I don't think I missed anything. I mean, usually they look pretty shiny because of the chemical that they sweat, but I think that's about it. They're just silly little dudes. In future videos, I'll be covering the other types of dragons, like gold, white, and the light gray as well. I might do those ones next. Actually, no, I probably won't. I don't know. We'll see. But I'll talk about the islands themselves as well and how they relate to humans in this universe in future episodes. But for now, that's about it. This is the finished piece, and I believe y'all are expecting bloopers, which there is a decent amount, because I am not used to this. Okie dokie. I've gotten a good name for them. They're just, all the dragons are just lovely. I'm so glad I do bloopers. Butyl lithium, beautiful. Hardened bright red skin and and that yes, I am. Which is why they're bald. Come on, click. They have a similar, yes, I can talk. Won't mate for life, but they, yeah, why am I saying but? There's literally no buts, they just don't. They, yes.